Boom boom, a boom boom ba ba dum bum ba boom bum ba boom bum boom ba ba dum boom boom ba boom.
Makes it hard to walk.
All right.
We were talking yesterday about Osios Hadibur, Osio and Osios Hamachshava.
Okay. We'll start on the line that begins Shaharehu. So Sheteva Shin Hey Hey, that's about a third from the bottom of the page.
Shaharehu bebechinas or?
Right. So we stepped away from talking about the analogy of a name and found something similar at a different level. And this is in the Guf, Machshava, and Dibur. Pointing out that there too there are similar distinctions, similar to what Madrege says, the Madrege of the Oyer, of the Etzem Hoyer, and then there is the Inyan, like Etzem Hashem, and then there is the Ispashas Hashem. The Nefesh Mishashet in the Guf is an Etzem, is an essential kind of a relationship, such that cannot be interrupted at all. Nefesh mislabish in machshava. Ois is a machshava. There, it cannot be interrupted per se, but it can be exchanged for a different machshava. So therefore, that means that even though it's miyuchod, but it is not something that emanates directly from the nefesh, then it wouldn't be able to be exchanged. The third level is dibur, where the dibur is something which actually becomes separate from the nefesh. And dibur can be interrupted, doesn't have to be constant, because it's a separate entity. And then we say, but nevertheless, even in dibur there is an element that remains connected. This is why there is an effect of kirvus and so forth in terms of dibur. And then, after having presented this, we come back and make the point that distinguishes the analogy of the name and that of the keli machshava of guf and machshava and dibur. And we're saying like this, that machshava and dibur, this is in the level of keli, whereas shame is in the level of oir. Which we discussed yesterday, and we can call the whole union of shame. We discussed quite extensively, pointing out how, in fact, this is the oir ha'odom.
Shame is the keli?
No, shame is the oir.
Shame is the or.
And therefore he says, therefore behechrech, clearly it's not similar. You cannot compare the dveikus element that's in oir in comparison to the dveikus element that's in keli. And this is where we have sharehu, since that it is that oir is bebchinas oir. Oir is bebchinas oir. It has it qualifies as oir at any level, even at the most distant and extended level. It is an in of oil. Chinas oil, shezeho aliyad dveikos davke. The whole mitzias of oil, the whole presence of oil, is alidei dveikos davke. Can only be through as a result of dveikos. But by being dovet. Commission is boil leyil, and as we have already discussed and explained previously. And then, certainly, when it comes to talking about Ayin Sof Shelifnei HaTzimtzum, before the Tzimtzum, just briefly to orient ourselves, what is the significance of Ayin Sof Shelifnei HaTzimtzum? Tzimtzum affected that there be, as we say, that there is the cholol mokim pomish. There is a vacant place, and into that you can draw the oil. So it causes a hair. You can draw the oil back. You draw the very same oil. I'm going quickly because we discussed it already. If anybody is not with us, they can tell me. The oil is nimshach again, but there is a novel element in this oil, and that is that there is a state where the oil is not present, and then you draw oil into it. This is already an element, a world type of phenomenon. World begins from non-presence to presence. This is why this oil, even though it's choshev hair, this is already an oil that we call as shaycha b'mchinas shaychos loilums. It can relate to worlds. Oil shelifnei hatzimtzum does not have that element at all. There isn't the inyan that it is oil that's nimshach. It is there because atzmos is there. So therefore, even though it is oil, it is not atzmos itself. But it is oil shlifnei hatzimtzum. It is there that does not have a world quality at all, a hamshocha quality. It does not come into being. It is there as part of the fact that atzmos is there. So even gam b'madrega yesher achareinu sheboir, even in the most distant and lowest madrega of oil, in the various levels of oil that we said in Otzim oil and Ispashus oil, no matter how far, how low, how far this madrega extends, this has an element of dveikus at a completely different level.
That Yosef Acharon is talking about within Oshel Lefnei HaTzimtzum?
Within Oshel Lefnei HaTzimtzum, yeah. There we add an element of dveikus be'emes. Now, what is dveikus represents an element of truth. Here, the word be'emes denotes something quite different and maybe in the opposite than what this word is used in other instances. In other instances, we say be'emes means that even though apparently it is not so, but if you look deeper in, on the level of emes, you find that yes, there is this inyan. Here, the word be'emes is to denote that this dveikus is through and through. It is in its entire metzias. The dveikus is not something that should be detected in it. This is dveikus. So here the word be'emes means to emphasize the opposite of a compromised dveikus.
Is that like emes lamita?
Yeah. Okay. V'zehu. Now we're coming back to the original point that we were discussing, and we came with a different name. And this is now the meaning of what it says in Piked Rebbe Eliezer. Ad shelei nivra ha'olam hoyahu shmoi bilvat. There was he and his name only. What does it mean? So we ask, what is the Hashem at that point? Now we understand what the Hashem, the Pirush, Hu Ushmoi Echot, Ukmisha Kosov, Beshalom. Probably you should read the Pirushoy. But the meaning of these words, Hu Ushmoi, is a Hu Ushmoi Echot, and he and his name is one thing. Mshekosov Beshalom, Vahainu. And the point in this is the klal was bechinas shmoi, because the bechina of shmoi in general overall hu bechinas achdus and veikus bechinas asmos ein sei baruhu shmoi klalus bechinas shmoi, which means shmoi at in any ways that where it can be found at any level. Shmoi as such, the meaning of the word shmoi, no matter where it's found, is b'chinas achdus veikus bechinas asmos ein sei baruhu. It carries with it the union of Aldus and Vegas in Atzvus. Be'alkein. And for this reason, therefore, Hu b'chinas tzuro atzmis. This is, as you recall, this is the original challenge that we had. How can his pashtus o'er be defined, be referred to as tzuro atzmis, when in fact in atzmus there is no tzuro at all? And yet we say that this is b'chinas tzuro atzmis. Not only the initial oir is b'chinas tzuro atzmis, but oir, any place where it can be identified, is b'chinas tzuro atzmis. Because oir, in any place where it's identified, it has this one transcended quality that it is dovuk b'hoetz.
Shmoi.
Shmoi,
Oh.
which is oil, right?
Is there any way to just there's beginners sorry, the Vekus beginners Atmos. Where is it? Yeah, Achtus of the Vekus beginners Atmos and so. A quick refresher as to what it's referring to. That Shema is Chas beginners Shema, beginners Achtus, Vekus beginners Atmos.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank actually as to what the what is pointing
Give
to.
him a prick, will you?
I don't know if that'll help.
It's not referring to anything. There is no Shem b'tad yatzim.
Only Netzim has a shame.
Only yatzim has a shame. Think of what when we say this guy, that only a human being
Right.
has a name.
Right.
Mishpat Tefillah Tzuro Atzmis. A Tzuro Atzmis, the meaning of Tzuro Atzmis, the translation of these words in most literal sense is a Tzura that is inseparable from the Yatzim. So the Milo, as we said, this is not possible to say. There is nothing that Atzmus cannot undo, so to speak. The whole union of oir is also volitional. But when the oil is present, it does not translate in an add-on, in a something additional and separate from Atzmus. It is Bechinas Suru Atzmus. It is there because it is Dobuk to Atzmus. V'yiker inyan tzura v'gilui. This is further, so to speak, elaboration and bringing to the conclusion, to the whole discussion that preceded in last two Maimorim. Yiker inyan tzura v'gilui. The principal aspect of tzura. Tzura means a form, a face. A form means gilui. It has an appearance. The principal meaning of tzura v'gilui, hu b'bchinas hispashtus ha'ir, is truly applicable in the b'china of hispashtus ha'ir. Why? Because etzem ha'ir is not gilui. Etzem ha'ir is etzem.
Rabbi, this gilui, does it presume a observer? Or
No, it doesn't
necessitate
presume.
an observer. No.
An observable.
It's just observable without an observer.
Right. So, Tzura v'gilui is b'chinas hispashtus ha'ir. Etzem ha'ir, even though etzem ha'ir is also Tzura v'gilui, but etzem ha'ir, again, what's meant etzem ha'ir? The atzmius that is present in the oir. Normally you say oir is not an atzmi. Oir is a hispashtus, is a message. Atzmi means something that is true in and of itself. But oir, it comes volitionally. It's not an atzmi. So we said that the union of oir is that Atzmus wanted to be in an oir presence. So what is present in the oir? Atzmus. Atzmus itself represents itself in an oir presence. So therefore there is the union of Atzmius in the oir. So for this we had all kinds of misholim, and we said that the name by a person. That a person has a name, this is an atzmi element in the person. Which is not an add-on to the person. Whether you give the person a name or you don't, he has this element of a presence that should be named, that deserves a name. So therefore we're saying that the Yikid Agilu is in Hispashtus Oir. But even his Hispashtus Oir, this is the effect of the Oir. This is already the functional aspect of the Oir. Like we said, in the case of the name can be applied to an object outside of the person. That's his pashtus. Hoping that we didn't lose the significance of this. When we apply a name to an object, on what basis are we applying the name to the object? We just call it by this name. We declare that the object belongs to the person. We apply the name to the object because the person is present and embraces this object by virtue of his hispashtus, of his presence. This is called hispashtus oer.
Rabbi Paltiel,
Yes.
can I go back just a little bit?
Okay, one minute. Let me finish this in here then. So the Dikinin Atzura Begilu is in the beginning is Pashtus Hoer. In the Pashtus Hoer, this is where you recognize that the person has a presence. I'm using the motion because in the Nimshal it's right there. Has a presence. Presence means oir. This is the name. So this is where you can tell that he has a presence. The etzem oir, it does not express itself. It does not call attention to his presence. The way the name is applied to himself.
Don't forget I'm waiting here.
Yes, of course. But then, because due to the fact that his pashtus oir is dovuk be'etzem, is dovuk to the source in an essential manner. That's why this oir, even the oir, his pashtus oir, still qualifies with the title, with the status of an oir atzmi. So let me just elaborate on this. So if it's oir atzmi, how is this pashtus? It's oir atzmi in the sense that the fact that there is his pashtus is also present in the etzem, in the person himself. Not only the reality of his presence, but due to the reality of his presence, his presence is present even in his pashtus. Yes, Baruch.
Well, maybe this is what you're just talking about now, so it'll become clearer, but so we're saying his pashtus here is also qualifying for the term Surah Atzmis. It seemed before that when we spoke about Surah Atzmi, this was something completely unique that applied only to this first volitional emanation of oir, and not to, well, we didn't know.
Not to his pashtus, right. That's what we initially thought. And then the Rebbe points out that really the Inyan from Surah Atzmis is applicable even in his pashtus oir. Not only that, but as we're going to see, and as we've seen before, even the Oshel Yachar Tzimtzum.
All of this is we can still use the term Surah Atzmis for all of this.
Right. But there is a difference as to what makes it, what justifies it being called Surah Atzmis. In the Oir HaMispashit, it is the Inyan that it is Dovuk. The Etzem.
Whereas in the original, what is it? What qualifies it?
In the original is, as we said, this is the primary emanation from the Etzem.
So it's not its Dveikus that qualifies it, but the fact that it's directly emanating from Etzem?
Right. Like we said, Oishel Ifnei HaTzimtzum versus Oishel Yachar HaTzimtzum. In the Oishel Yachar HaTzimtzum there is an element of Hamshocha. Hamshocha is not Atzmus. Atzmus is a primary presence. Motzu Rishon, Mamtzi Kol Nimtzu. And Oishe Le'achar HaTzimtzum has an element of Hamshocha. Oishe Lifnei HaTzimtzum does not have it. So therefore, there the union from Tzura Atzmis is to be identified in different terms than the Tzura Atzmis as we identify in Oishe Le'achar HaTzimtzum. Oishe Le'achar HaTzimtzum, we say that it's still Tzura Atzmis, because what is oil by definition? That which is dovek to the Yetzer.
For the initial or atzmi, we don't say dovek. Why can't we say dvekas?
Because the term dovek.
There's nothing dovek.
What?
There's nothing to be dovek.
Now it can be dovek. This is its presence. The name that's applied to an object, you say it's dovek to the person. The name that's applied to himself is not dovek to him. This defines his real presence.
Would the name be considered the luminary?
You mean the name in or the original level of the name?
That's a mashing, yes.
The term luminary, like the Shemesh is a luminary. Shemesh is a luminary, that's what it is. It is meant to be a luminary. And it cannot be not a luminary. But Etzem Hashem is one with Atzmos, and it does not require to be there. So it doesn't even have that, it just defines Etzem. Not luminary. Luminary means how it illuminates. It's not even limited by this. Its presence is not bound by to be a luminary. It is only pointing to the etzem, not to its effect. Luminary is an effect.
But at the same time, it just happens to be the source of where the light spreads forth from, right?
Yes, from a light, because it's a light, therefore there is hispashtus of air and so forth. And now we're saying further, the Gam, we will not be able to finish the scene, we just started. The Gam bechinas ha'oir, but even the oir aspect, the oir aspect, as it is after the tzimtzum, this is already a completely different oir, as we have discussed. This is an oir that has the similarity to oilmus, and therefore it is b'shaychus loilmus. It's mamish mitzias. Even there, hari hogam kim b'bchinas sura atzmus. Even that oir is also b'bchinas sura atzmus.
What's the chulu then?
I just want to keep us, so to speak, bound to the Nekuda. What we're speaking on different madregas and this, and then we're finding this union at this level, finding this union at this level. The overall message and the overall significance of this whole discussion. And what is so significant by pointing out that Oish and Achar Tzimtzum is Gankim B'chinas Sura Atzmus. What is this? Just an exercise in so to speak, in the intellectual dissection. insight. What is the point here? The point is that the oil the oil that we have here in the world, the oil, like we said, the oil of Hashemesh that hits the object and reverberates from the object. All that remains pointing to one reality. There's only one reality. At any level. And this is how, ultimately, the whole materials of the world, the materials of the world is so tangible, so physical, it is all oil elokit. The metzius element, the tangibility, the physicality, is only concealing the truth of what it is. And it's concealing it only to our touch and to our physical orientation. It's not concealing it from our intellect. Because in our intellect, we still realize and recognize that what is the real truth? There's only one real truth. Yes, some motzerishim mamzikol nimta, amitazim motzim tkol. And that cannot be concealed no matter what from the intellect. Because in fact, in truth, that is what it remains even at the most distant and physicalized level. What is world? The presence of the king.
So vida natsa.
Right. Okay, so we'll pursue this tomorrow, Mitzvah. Have a good day. Baruch, have a good day. Call to.
Thank you, Paltiel.
Gradually, call to. Sometimes he's constantly telling me, somebody got on the conference, someone go there today, sometimes many people there, he doesn't interrupt us. How come? Because of derech eretz. Yes.
No.